Ever feel like some teams just work and others, well, they don't?
Yeah, for sure. It's like there's a secret sauce some teams have figured out.
Right. Today, we're going deep on that. We're diving into The Five Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. It's kind of a classic for, well, anyone who's part of a team, really.
Absolutely. It's a must read. And he lays out these five big things that can really mess a team up.
Exactly. And it's like a pyramid, right? You got to get the foundation right or the whole thing crumbles. So, first up, the bottom layer, the most important one, absence of trust.
Right. And it's not just about like being buddies with your colleagues. It's deeper. It's about feeling safe enough to actually be vulnerable. Admit when you messed up. Ask for help when you're stuck. Toss out ideas even if they're half-baked.
Yeah. Have you ever been in a team where you just didn't feel safe doing that? I know I have.
Oh, totally. It happens way more often than you'd think. And it really throws a wrench in the works. Like, imagine a software development team. If no one feels comfortable admitting they made a mistake in the code, yeah, because they're afraid of getting blamed or whatever, well, that tiny mistake, it can snowball into a huge bug. Missed deadlines, the whole 9 yards.
That makes sense. So how do you actually build that trust? Like, how do you make people feel safe enough to open up?
Well, Lencioni says leaders got to step up here. They need to be the ones showing vulnerability first, admitting their own mistakes, being open to feedback, even if it's tough to hear. When a leader does that, it shows everyone else, hey, it's okay to be human here. We're not perfect.
That makes a lot of sense. But it's not a one-time thing, right? It's got to be ongoing.
Exactly. It's about consistently responding positively to that openness. Even when someone shares something that maybe isn't great news, it's about creating a pattern of, hey, even if you mess up, we're still here for you. We're going to work through it together.
That's so important. Okay, so you build that trust, and then what? What's the next dysfunction?
So if you don't have that solid trust foundation, what happens is people start avoiding conflict. And I don't mean like personal arguments or anything. I mean healthy debate about ideas, the kind of back and forth that actually helps you make better decisions.
Oh, I see. So it's like people are too afraid to disagree or challenge each other because they don't want to rock the boat.
Exactly. Like think about a marketing team, right? They're trying to come up with a new campaign. And maybe some of the junior folks have doubts about the direction it's going in, but they don't speak up because they're afraid of, I don't know, upsetting the boss or something.
Yeah, I've been there. And then what happens? The campaign flops.
Well, it could, because they missed out on that chance to really poke holes in the idea, to stress test it and make it stronger. So how do you fix that?
Right.
You got to make it clear that it's okay to disagree, to challenge each other's ideas. But, and this is key, it's got to be about the ideas themselves, not about attacking each other personally.
Makes sense. So trust leads to healthy conflict,
Hmm.
which then leads to,
Commitment. If people don't feel like they've been heard, if they haven't had a chance to voice their opinions, they're not going to be fully on board with the decision, right? Even if they agree to it on the surface.
right, it's like they're going along with it, but they're not really committed in their hearts.
Exactly. And that can really hurt a team. Let's say you have a tech team and they're working on some new feature, but some of the engineers, they have big concerns about the way it's being designed. But they don't speak up, or they do and get shut down. Well, guess what? They're probably not going to put their best effort into building that feature right because they don't really believe in it.
So it's about making sure everyone has a say, but then once the decision is made, it's full steam ahead, everyone's committed.
Exactly. Full commitment, no half measures.
Hmm.
And that actually ties directly into the next dysfunction, avoidance of accountability. This is where things get messy. If people aren't really committed to the goals, they're not going to hold each other accountable for reaching them. Like if a deadline gets missed or the quality of work isn't up to par, no one says anything.
So like poor performance just becomes the norm.
Yeah, it can. Imagine a sales team that's constantly missing its targets. But no one talks about it. No one's held responsible. No one's trying to figure out what went wrong and how to fix it. Well, what message does that send? It says those targets don't really matter, and the team's performance just keeps sliding downhill.
Yikes. That's not good. How do you fix that? How do you bring back that accountability?
Well, first off, everyone needs to know what's expected of them, right? Clear expectations, regular check-ins to make sure everyone's on track. And this is crucial. People need to feel empowered to speak up when they see someone slacking off or not meeting the standards. What happens when no one feels like they can do that? It can be really damaging to the whole team dynamic.
Yeah, totally. It creates this environment where mediocrity is just accepted. And
Yeah,
that leads us to the final dysfunction, right?
exactly. Inattention to results. This is when people start prioritizing their own individual goals or egos over the success of the team as a whole. We've all seen it, right?
Yeah.
That person who's more concerned with getting credit for themselves than with the team actually achieving its
Oh,
objectives.
yeah, definitely. And that can be really toxic, can't it?
It can totally derail a team. The focus has to be on the shared goals, the collective results. You need clear team-based goals, and you need to reward everyone based on those shared outcomes, not just the star performers. Everyone contributes. Everyone gets recognized when the team succeeds. What do you think? How does that kind of focus on shared results impact a team?
Well, it brings people together, right? It creates this feeling of shared purpose. When everyone's rowing in the same direction, they're more likely to support each other, to collaborate effectively. So, to sum it all up, what Lencioni's telling us is that building a high-performing team, it's not just about luck, it's about actively addressing these five dysfunctions: the lack of trust, the fear of conflict, the lack of commitment, the avoidance of accountability, and the inattention to results.
Exactly. It's about being aware of these potential pitfalls and having a plan for how to tackle them when they pop up, because they will pop up.
And for you listening, think about your own team. Which of these dysfunctions resonates with you the most? What's one small step you could take this week to start addressing it?
And here's something else to think about.
Yeah.
What kind of ripple effect might you see if you start making progress on even just one of these areas? How could it change your team dynamic in ways you haven't even considered?
Something to think about for sure.
Definitely.
Well, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.